Teachers of Reddit, what is the smartest and most creative way of cheating that you've seen? In a lot of my college courses I wasn't allowed to use anything higher than a TI-84, so I took the guts of my TI-89 and swapped it into my TI-84. Never got caught. Oh shit, that's the way to do it. We were supposed to have TI-83 plus for our exams, but the exam supervisors didn't know or care, and I used my TI-89 all the time. You could upload whole texts into the TI-89 with your PC. My teacher shared with us a story about how since she allowed eating during her tests, one person pulled out a giant bag of M&Ms and ate a specific color corresponding to ABCD. It was a 2-student duo and they only got caught when another student ratted them out. What a snitch. Not the student but the teacher. So, the teacher, let's call him Mr. A, had a reputation for being a phenomenal teacher who had every student engaged and invested in his class, no matter how mundane the subject. Anytime he asked a question, every student's hand would shoot in the air with them shouting things like "call on me" or "I know the answer." Simply, Mr. A developed a reputation in the district as one of its best teachers. Fast forward a couple years and I'm grabbing coffee with Mr. A and I ask him, "What's your trick? How did you get every student bought?" In his response, "Well, I told the kids every time we had a visitor in class, I need you all to raise your hand like I was giving away free candy. But if you don't know the answer, raise your left hand. If you do know it, raise your right hand. So I know who to call on and we all look good." Worked like a charm. I was supervising a final chemistry exam along with another coworker. Not 15 minutes in, a hand slams down on a desk and I turn around expecting the worst, only to see my coworker angrily shouting at a pair of really frightened 10th graders whose desk he smashed. Amidst the shouting I caught the words, "Morse code." The guy proceeded to take them to the office. I called a hallway supervisor to take over and ran after the group. Apparently, the kids were silently tapping the answers amongst themselves in Morse code, not even with their fingernails, just their fingertips. I never heard a thing. My coworker happened to catch me in Morse code or something. I honestly thought he finally went crazy solely because of his appearance. Picture Robin Williams in Jumanji going, "What year is IT?" I'm 100% sure that if this coworker weren't in the room, they'd have gotten away with it for sure. So they learned Morse code but couldn't study for a test. Amazing. Learning A, B, C, and D in Morse code is definitely easier. Learn to cheat once and you never have to study for other tests. One of my old teachers told us a story about a student who had rigged up a tiny scroll of paper in a wristwatch with notes written on it. He turned the scroll by winding the watch. He ended up getting caught because he was winding his watch so damn much during the exam. But the teacher loved the creativity. In elementary middle school we had to write a paragraph each week featuring all the vocabulary words included in that unit. One clever kid wrote something along these lines. One day kid's name had to write a paragraph for English class. He sat down, picked up a pen and used these words in it. Proceeds to list out all the words. The teacher only let it go once because she never saw that happen until then. That reminds me of a time in my high school Spanish class where we had to make a skit including a list of vocabulary words, and it had to be 4 minutes long. So the skit went, in Spanish, "Hey, amigo, we have to write a skit containing," lists out words. "Oh, okay. What time is it?" "It is 1:30, but I put my watch on my table so we can tell the time." "Okay. What is Jose's phone number?" "It is numbers." "What is Maria's phone number?" They continue wasting time by asking random phone numbers while staring intently at the watch. After 4 total minutes have passed. The bell. It is time to go to class. Bye bye. I think they got a B. In high school I was in a computer-based learning program and our science tests were taken digitally. However, they used a program where once you entered the test your entire screen was locked into the test and the only way to exit it was to click the finish button on the test or turn off your computer, which effectively did the same thing. Another feature of the program was that once you were in the test, anything you had in your clipboard, copied text, was not able to be pasted into the answer sections on the test to prevent the only other way to cheat. However, after creating my own classroom at home, making fake tests and playing with the program to figure out a way to cheat, I realized that it would allow you to copy things from inside the test and paste them elsewhere in this test. The developers of the program also did not take into account the sign-in screen where you have to find the test and enter it. Long story short, I could copy my entire page of notes I had taken on the test material, paste it into the section where I would enter my login information, then recopy it, enter the test and paste it again in one of the answer sections, using it to answer every question and then deleting it before clicking finish. I work as a web developer for a college. Stuff like this makes me paranoid about everything I do. Some smartass CS tried to break everything in our portal one semester, just out of boredom. Best student worker I've ever had. My exams that used a graphic calculator TI-84 required us to show the examiners a proof of reset screen before the papers started, so instead of actually studying for my papers, I painstakingly redrew the proof of reset screen pixel by pixel in the TI-84's pixel art program and stored all my notes in it. Our calculator had a storage feature too. Once you open the battery cover it turns off and on next start it shows the reset screen. We had to open the cover and let the teacher press OK to reset. No way of cheating here. If it's a T-calculator, set a really simple program to launch on startup with a fake reset screen and OK box. You all are such sophisticated cheaters. I just stuck a cheat sheet in the TI cover and peeked at it when the teacher wasn't looking. Not a teacher, but I used to use one of those rectangular erasers because the pencils the teacher gave us were cheap and the erasers only smudged the marks. The eraser came in a cardboard sleeve and I ripped it open and would write test answers on it, then erase it after exams for reuse. High school kids recreated a Snapple label where the nutrition panel on the back had all the answers, formulas, etc. Only got caught because I'd never seen the flavor before and wanted to see how much sugar was in it. I can imagine how worried they were when you inspected the bottle, like, oh, how much sugar is in the ... You're all failing. Everyone knows to cheat using peach Snapple. Idiots. I was a TAFE for anatomy and physiology. The professor would ask for me to sit in on finals to prevent cheating. One kid came in with a vitamin water. No worries. Halfway through the test the professor noticed they kept turning the bottle and squinting. This goes on for another 20 minutes. Professor goes up, grabs the vitamin water bottle and rips off the label. It had a crib sheet written on the back. The students had gone to the effort to make a fake vitamin water bottle label and write notes in the back. The professor was impressed by the creativity and decided to give the student a 0 and not report them to the academic committee. He should have just studied and done that so he could write "suck fat nuts" on the inside, lol. Imagine if the prof notices him squinting at the bottle and angrily snatches it only to realize it has "you can do it, Greg" written on the inside over and over again. Used a text file on one of the original iPods. Teacher was fine with listening to music during tests. Made my life so much easier, lol. Not a teacher, but I used to lightly write the answers on a desk before the test with pencil. If someone calls you out on it before the test, then you claim that you're using the write the material down method of studying and didn't notice that it was marking the desk. After using the necessary material, you just rubbed the pencil marks off of the desk, thus destroying the evidence. I do this a lot too. Spanish class is the only class I just straight up cheated in. I'm a high school teacher, but this story is about my own high school math teacher playing us and cheating. It was an honors algebra and geometry class, and it was well known that Mr. D. Ray used the same questions every year, just change the numbers. He made a big deal about making sure we all gave our exam papers back to him after we had looked at our scores and gone over everything together to prevent cheating for the next year. Well, of course, some of my classmates got their hands on a complete set of tests from the previous year. Soon, everyone had a set. Before each exam, we would sit together and make sure we knew how to solve every problem on that test so we could do it on the real exam with different numbers. Years later, when I became a teacher myself, I saw Mr. D at a funeral. I confessed to him that this is what we used to do. He smirked and said, "Who do you think leaked the test packet to get you to study?" Mr. D had figured out that kids won't study if the teacher suggests it, but if they think they're getting away with something, they totally will. So he managed to get a test packet out and circulating as contraband. Blew my mind. This is amazing. As soon as I read we would sit together and make sure we knew how to solve every problem. I was like, wait, that sounds like a study group. In some test on university we had the questions projected on the white table or wall, so whole class had the same test and we had multiple choice A, B, C, D, E. So with the whole year we agreed that for each of these letters we should pair with a sign of holding the pen. If it's A, point your pen forward, B, point it to the right, C to back, D to the left and E to upwards, and if you don't know the answer just put down your pen. So we just had to carefully look around for a moment and see what most pens are pointing at, and we know the answer right away. Emo, it is the safest cheating. because there's no evidence and no teacher will notice if you made a careful peek for half a second. Teacher told me a story from US history when he used to let students listen to music. They were being tested on the US presidents. One kid was listening to music when his audio cord came out of his phone and his phone started blaring a sound clip of the student listing all the presidents in order. Music was no longer allowed, but he got to try again without music because of his creativity. Not me, but my friend pulled this off. Both of us are college students. Before our discussions, the Tay would take attendance online. My friend's Tay always forgot his laptop, so he would ask students if he could use theirs to start the attendance code. My friend got a keylogger, let the Tay use his laptop and got his account login. The Tay had access to all the quiz answers and they were posted right before the quiz. In the end, he didn't bother using them because the quizzes weren't that hard. Not a teacher, but a kid in one of my college classes made her own jewelry and had crafted a bracelet with different colored beads to correspond to the answers on the test, i.e. red for A, blue for B, etc. She'd gotten the list of answers ahead of time. Professor was well known for reusing tests from prior years question for question and used the bracelet precisely as one would use a cheat sheet. My high school trig professor administered all tests via programs he wrote for our in-class TI-83 calculators. Basically, it was just a simple set of questions and answers that automatically graded you after each question. I quickly realized I could just close the program and inspect the code using the edit function, extract the answers, and give myself a high B or low A, never 100%, as that is a sure way to get caught. He soon realized students were doing this and obfuscated his code to make it much harder to find the answers by simple inspection. It took a little more work, but I was still able to find the answers, and he quickly began to suspect again that students were cheating. Later, he found a way to force the code to self-delete after it was run for the first time. He would start the test for each calculator before passing them out. So if you tried to access the edit, it would be delete itself if you tried to run the program again. I ended up bringing a set of dead batteries of the same brand that he used, accessing the edit, and replacing the batteries with the dead ones and telling him the calculator died halfway through my test. I think I learned more about software testing than trig that year. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more Reddit addiction. Also leave a comment on what are some clever ways you have used to cheat on a test.